Well, I have a girl right now that's running the world, and she's going to be making a huge, huge impact in the acting industry. I am so honored to have her on. I've known her for about 3 years, and we go way back. Taking an acting class with to me one of my favorite people in the world, one of my greatest mentors, Tracy Moore, who we'll definitely talk about later on in our in the show here. But I want to welcome everybody to the D-Lou podcast, my very first guest ever, and there will never be another first because this is the very first one. I have none other than Tanya Thompson. Tanya, welcome to the D-Lou podcast. How are you?
Hi, Derek. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I mean, Who Run the World, Girls? I mean, you couldn't have picked a better song to introduce me to your podcast radio listeners. So I'm honored to be here, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be your very first guest. I feel so honored and humbled. Thank you so much.
Well, hey, the pleasure's all mine. And again, like I said, her and I we go back about 3 years. And I mean, one thing about this industry, and she'll be the first to tell you, is that we stick together. You know what I mean? And those of us
Definitely.
that know what we go through each and every day. It's a nonstop grind. It's a nonstop deal. So I mean, we all know what we all go through. So it's very important to definitely latch on to those that that work just as hard as you do and have the same passion and drive as you do. I'm sure you experienced some of the snow the last day or so, and the cold. When will this stuff stop?
Your guess is as good as mine. I can't take another snowstorm, but we need to count our blessings because we was supposed to get a big, big storm Sunday night going into Monday. And thank you, the Creator. He let it pass our way. So, I'm grateful for that. And I hope that's the end of it. I'm just ready for spring. I'm ready to see some sunshine. I'm ready to take off the boots and the coats and just, really start enjoying some warm weather. I can't take it anymore. We've been getting blasted, not to mention the potholes from all the salt going down.
Oh,
those things are evil. Been horrible.
They're evil, and I'm pretty sure that the tire companies are making a fortune with all the people having to get the plugs in the hole. They're actually replacing the tires themselves. But for those that aren't counting, we're 16 days away from spring. So let's hope that the ground. Yeah, let the countdown begin. But I want to get right into, this interview, and we've been talking about this for the last 5 weeks. When I initially asked you about, coming onto the show, you didn't hesitate, and again, I'm definitely appreciative of your enthusiasm, and again, you believing in me and believing in this show and believing in this platform. So I did I did some research. In order for me to be successful in this podcast business, I have to do my research. So I do see that you're from the Bronx, New York, which is home of my New York Yankees. So tell us a little bit about the beginning. Sports reference. See, it didn't take long, but just tell us a little bit about the beginning stages of your life growing up in the Bronx and the shadows of New York City. Because I'll be the first to admit it. Growing up in the city must have been awesome. Being in the area and being exposed to all that the city brings to you. So tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, that's a little scary that you could just do research and find out where I'm from. With the world being so small now, with the internet, you can really find out anything about anybody. That bugs me out.
It is a pretty scary thing. Yeah, no.
But I grew up in the Bronx, the Northeast Bronx, in a section of the Bronx called Co-op City, and I grew up there, pretty much born and raised, and great place to live. A lot of middle class families. At the time when I was living there, there were a lot of Jewish people that I lived around. Very few blacks, a few Hispanics, but it was just nice, Grew up there with my mom, my dad, my sister, who's a year and 5 months younger than me, and it was just families, just working families that cared about their communities, and it was just a really good life growing up there. The Bronx has changed so much now; it's completely night and day from what I grew up seeing. But I have those good memories of, what the Bronx used to be like in the 70s. A lot different now, though.
Now, but it's, what, and it's cool to talk about that because, you being able to see a diverse, you say you make Jewish, you have white, and you have Hispanics. You basically have to see the whole spectrum of everything. So being able to have that diverse background it's very cool, honestly. And I mean, and again, think of New York City now. You know what I mean? Think about every ethnicity that lives in one of the biggest cities, to me, the biggest and the best city in the world, New York City. And you can see every ethnicity there. So it's really cool to see. Absolutely. So it's awesome to see that every time I'm in the city, it's like, oh wow, like I feel like I'm connected to the world every time I'm in New York City. But while you were growing up in the Bronx, being able to have that that diversity around you. So at what age did you decide that you wanted to become an actress?
Well, going back to me being 5 years old, I've always been a performer. When I was 5 years old, I started taking classical piano. I was inspired to actually take piano lessons from my babysitter because she was taking piano lessons, and she had a piano at her house, so I would get on and I would, kind of try to mimic her. And my mom saw that, wait a minute, she kind of seems like she's taking a liking to this. Maybe we need to, get her some lessons and see how she does. And then I ended up taking lessons for many, many years. So with that, I had to do many piano recitals, always performing in front of a crowd. Then I took tap and jazz and ballet and all those good things that, young little girls do, and performing again in front of crowds. So I've always been a performer. So in terms of the acting, that kind of came a little later on. That came around high school. And in high school, I started, it's funny because I actually was rapping in high school. That's when I was like heavy into hip hop and stuff like that.
Right.
And then I took my first drama class. And my first drama class, I was like top of the class. I won the drama award at graduation. And that was the start of it. And when I graduated high school, I said, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. I love it. I just love it, love it, love it. And I never want this feeling to go away. So that's kind of how it all started.
So you took piano lessons at 5 years old, and your parents actually were cool with it. And that's the thing I love about, when parents allow their kids to become who they are, because it's more or less it's a snowball effect in the sense, because it went from piano lessons to tap dancing, you know what I mean, and all those things. And then and obviously with the music, and obviously growing up in the era that we grew up in, hip hop, especially in the Northeast, was spreading like wildfire in the 80s. I mean,
it was birthed in the Bronx. So, being from the Bronx, you had almost no choice but to, be a hip hop head. That's where it started. So.
Listen, I was a big fan of BDP growing up. So KRS-One was one of my favorite rappers growing up, and just and I think back to even those days when you're talking about hip hop a minute ago, and I'm just thinking, man, think about the shows that used to come on, like Video Music Box and Video Vibrations, all those shows on BET and all that stuff back in the day, and it was showcasing so many talented individuals, and I'm just thinking about all those things. So going back to your upbringing, you were able to take all of those things and channel it into to hip hop, which I think is cool. It's really cool to have that background to do what you wanted to do. Now who were obviously I know you favor your Bronx rappers, and I understand that, but who were some of you, and I know there was MC Lyte back in the day, Miss Melody, so male or female, who were your influences in hip hop?
Oh man, well, you definitely named one of my top, MC Lyte. Loved her because a lot of people actually said that I kind of rapped like her. So I kind of studied her rhyming style and things of that nature. Then of course I love Salt and Pepper because they brought that whole sexiness to hip hop. They were still girly, but they did their thing. And I love Big Daddy Kane. I just saw him not too long ago, a matter of fact, performing at Radio City. I love Rakim. Oh man, the list goes on and on. The list goes on and on. De La. So I mean, forget about it. You already know. So I love all of them.
You just named some greats, and I mean, I got to keep it real. I saw Sugar Hill Gang a couple months ago at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center, and those guys still steal the show.
Still got
Let me tell you something right now. They still got it, and it's amazing to see that those talented guys, no matter what, and they just get better with age. I don't understand. It's a good thing, and I think some of the younger generation can really tap into that resource and see where everything originated from.
Absolutely,
now,
gotta respect it.
Absolutely. Now, switching to back to the acting end again.
Yes.
So, now I know you said you had some of your favorite rappers that you definitely idolized. Who were some of your actresses that you idolized?
I loved Sally Fields because I was a big fan of the show Gidget. I think I'm kind of showing my age here.
I remember Gidget. I remember that shit.
Yes. But I would really say my top two was Melissa Gilbert and Michael Landon, because I was and probably still am a little bit obsessed with Little House on the Prairie.
On the Prairie, that show's
to the
classic.
point where I have the DVD collections. Well, actually, I have the VHS collectibles.
Right.
Yeah, here, and I probably won't ever let them go unless if I can get rid of them on eBay for a really good amount of money. But yeah, I just love the way the acting was so real, where I actually thought Little House on the Prairie was like a real place to live.
Exactly. You're right.
And so I really love their talent.
Right, and that was the unique thing about television. Like when I was growing up, I decided I wanted to be an actor, and I was 4. And believe it or not, the very first movie that I sat down and watched, and I can really understand, even at 4 years old, was Mommy Dearest with Faye Dunaway when she
scary
played the Joan Crawford. Yes.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is that it took me to another place. I'm like, wow, I'm thinking this is real. And then the TV shows that were when I was coming up, see, just like you were talking about Little House on the Prairie, you think that these things are real because they really brought you into the television set.
They
you sat down and you really thought these were real families. So the realism is what drew me in. Absolutely. So to me, when I think about that experience, no matter if I'm auditioning, no matter if I'm, if I have a part or something like that, whatever the case may be, if I'm reading, I want to jump into the character and I really want to become, because that I want to help somebody down the road say, hey, that looked real. I want to do that. So that right there, you know what I'm saying? But with that,
that's the magic of what we do, to really take people on an experience, to be able to take people away from their reality for 2 hours or 90 minutes of a movie or a television show. So that's the beauty of what we do, and that's why I love it so much, and that's why I know you love it as well.
Definitely. Now, I know you mentioned some TV shows that you enjoyed as a kid. What were the movies that you enjoyed as a kid?
I remember a few of the first movies that I saw was A Soldier Story, Terms of Endearment, Color Purple. All of those films were very, 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 very powerful to me, and very educational as well. It really brought me into what the Jim Crow South looked like, coming from the Bronx. I never experienced anything like that, thank God. And it really touched me, and it really stayed with me for a long time. So those were some of my favorite movies, I'd say, as a kid. But but my very, 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 very favorite movie is, and you're gonna laugh when I tell you this, Annie.
Hey, listen, I saw that in the theater when it came out, and now I'm telling
that was a long pause.
Yeah, I had to think. No, I was like, wait a minute. I saw that in the theater. My mother took me, my sister, and her friend Archie. No lie, true story. I must have been about 3 or 4 years old, and I'm surprised that's in my mental Rolodex. True story. We went to New York. I was growing up in North Jersey at the time, and my mom took us to New York to see Annie in the movie theater. That movie was awesome, and I'm not ashamed of it either.
Yes,
Unreal.
yes, yes, yes. It was so. It sure was. I mean, she was gangster.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a hard. Hey,
Yeah, but
listen.
that was a good movie.
Hard Not
Definitely.
Life, man. Seriously. Now,
Seriously.
kind of bring it things to the present now. Now, obviously, now I shed light just a little bit in the beginning of the interview when we talk about some of the struggles we go through as actors. Some of the things that we have to go through day in and day out. I'm just talking even as far as travel. We travel to to auditions. We travel to gigs. We're
Right.
sitting and holding for no matter how long. We have to be at set at 4 or 5 in the morning, sometimes 3 in the morning, depending upon. Now, what keeps you motivated to stay ahead of the curve in this industry?
I would say what really is the driving force for me is my son. I have a 15-year-old son, and for me, everything that I do is for him and to set an example for him. And I feel like can't tell somebody that they can be whoever they want to be in life or achieve whatever they want to achieve in life if you haven't done that yourself. So for me, I know that he's watching everything I do. So I got to show him, there's more power in showing than telling or saying. So lead by example. So whenever I might, be getting frustrated or stressed or, because this business can take you, on a merry-go-round of emotions.
Oh, yeah.
And, you go through so much and, there's a lot of rejection and just, it's just a lot to deal with. I think of him, and that makes me get up the next day, dust myself off, and go out and keep pursuing this dream that I love. So that's what motivates me. My son.
No, and I actually met him a couple of times. We were at Tracy Moore's. He's a very, very intelligent, very respectful young man. So you've done a wonderful, outstanding job with him. So that's from me. And then seriously. Now, with that, what advice would you give someone if you met somebody, they're walking down the street and you're at a bus stop, you're catching I don't know if you're catching the 1 train or whatever it is, and you see somebody and they see you with your portfolio and they say, "Oh my God, I'm new to this business too." What advice, if they started, talking to you, they start picking your brain about anything, what advice would you give someone that's new to the business?
My main advice I would give them is make sure this is something that you feel you can't live without. Like if living without acting or whatever it is you're trying to pursue is like living without air. You have got to do it to live. Because as I said before, this particular genre of business gets tough. It gets very, very difficult. It gets very, very, very challenging at times. And if you don't love it, you won't last. So make sure this is what you want to do with the rest of your life and that you love it. And if you love it, you would probably do it for free. That's how much you got to love it.
And I'm glad you hit the nail right on the head, because I get asked a lot of questions sometimes about, hey, how much is, somebody asked me on set one day, I'll leave the set nameless, but they were saying, asking me about things that I've done. It's, well, how much did you get paid for that? Does it pay well? I'm like, well, listen, and I asked him, well, how long have you been doing this? And he said, well, not long. I said, well, if you're asking that question right now and expecting to earn Denzel Washington money or Will Smith money tomorrow, you're in the wrong industry. And I tell people that all the time, because there's a thing. I don't want to sound too cliche, but there's a thing called paying your dues. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to pay your dues, and you got to really dig down deep, and you got to get your hands dirty sometimes. You have to go and grind. You have to do all those things. And if that means going to an audition, and trust me, and I'll tell you this right now, I travel to auditions. My very first true story, and this is something I've probably never said publicly before. I traveled to Chicago, Illinois, my very first movie audition 4 years ago. My very first movie audition was in Chicago, Illinois. Now, I got on Greyhound in Philadelphia, and I left at 12:15 in the afternoon. And I arrived in Chicago at about 5 in the morning Central Time, which allowed me a couple hours to shower, do what I had to do, ate, rented a car, and drove about an hour west of Chicago to a movie audition. With probably 50% chance I was either going to get it or not going to get it. And usually, if you don't hear anything, if you don't hear anything, you obviously didn't get it. And as soon as that was over, as soon as the audition was over, I took the rent-a-car back, went, walked the streets of Chicago for, I don't know, like 5 hours or so, hopped back on the bus. I was back at my best friend's house that Sunday morning. And that was probably one of the craziest things I've ever done in this industry. And that was my first go out of me getting an audition. But again, how bad do you want it? And they very politely emailed me saying that I didn't get it, but wished me well on my future endeavors. So going back to what you were saying in regards to how much you really love this business, how much you really enjoy it, and how much this is a part of you, without it, you don't breathe. That's what that's the thing. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of us that are in the same boat right now, we have that fire, we have that desire to do this, and whether it means we have to travel somewhere to do it, then you know what? Have bus, train, or plane or car, will travel. That's the name of the game. So I totally agree with that sentiment there. So I didn't want to steal shine here, but that's a prime example
I mean,
there.
What you said was necessary. I mean, I've gone through the same thing. I've bought a plane ticket to fly out to California to do the same thing. I've gotten in my car, driven to Philadelphia for audition, drive a few hours away, and, gas and toll and all that, that's on you, so I get it. I'm right there with you. So I'm glad that you said that. And any listeners out there who are considering getting into this business, they need to really take all this in, because this is what, you will be faced with. So you got to make sure you love it.
Absolutely. Now, with that, is there one person in this business, and I'm probably, I don't know what you're going to say, but I have to ask, if there's one person that when you were given the opportunity to work with, who would it be?
Well, I have one male and one female. Do I have to narrow it down to one? That's so hard.
If you want it, well, okay. This is the very first episode, and I appreciate you coming on. You can choose one male, one female.
Yay! Okay.
See, I get freebies on this show.
Yes, I love this show already. Okay, well, the female would definitely be Angela Bassett. She's like my all-time favorite actress. I just love her. And, there's very few people that I would ever be starstruck by, but I believe she might be one of them. She's just so powerful and on screen, and I would just love to just be in her presence, to see how she does what she does. And the male, of course, would be Denzel Washington, because I feel he's just like the male opposite of Angela Bassett. I mean, just as fantastic, just as powerful. They just become, these people, and they take you away for those 2 hours that you're in the movie theater, and you forget that it's Angela Bassett and Denzel on the screen. And I respect their work so much. And if I could even, like I said, be in their presence, that, life would be perfect for me. So, yeah, those are my two.
Those are your two. Well, for me, I would have to say that since I get to choose a male and a female also, I think for female, I would have to go with Halle Berry, because she's very, again, another talent.
I love her too.
I've seen her grow, and I'm talking about going back from, Jungle Fever, back in those days, to Boomerang, and to, it was just like, man, like how she's grown, from that era of doing movies and being successful, winning an Academy Award. But on the flip, on as far as a male that I would want to work with, and truly, I said this out there, and I put it out there right now, I would love to play a villain versus Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Ooh.
I would love, and I'm serious. I would love to play a villain first, because guess what? People are going to pay to see the villain get his butt kicked by The Rock. So, I'm serious. And I mean, but he's grown. I mean, you figure he's been in the game really. Even when he did that 70s show back in 98, 99, he's been doing this a while. So the Steve was playing even back then, before the Scorpion King and everything, and he's definitely grown. And now he grossed $1.3 billion billion, ladies and gentlemen, billion with a
billion.
B, $1.3 billion last year with the 4 movies that he did. He's a major player, and I would love to be a part of that and learn from him and what he does and how good he's got, definitely. But when and obviously you've been at this a while, so tell the people about the first job you ever booked and how that experience was for you.
Okay, the first job I booked, this is going back to the early 90s, was New York Undercover, I believe. And yeah, and it was it was the first season that the show dropped on Fox, and it was the episode, I think it was episode 19 or something like that, with Donald Faison. He was the lead in that particular episode, and the experience was awesome. I mean, it was such a great day, just being, around the cast and, also seeing the behind the scenes, because this is a show that I was watching, and now to actually
be on it, right,
on the other side of the television screen, it was amazing. And with that being said, and going back to what we said about how, this business works, that day it rained so bad. It was like,
oh wow,
it was like Noah's Ark, It was like, it was hard. It was a deluge, and we had to shoot outside. And not only did it rain, but the rain was ice cold. And I remember having on a big bubble coat. That's when everybody wore the bubbles, when that bubble was popular.
Right.
And we was outside for hours and hours, and then we would go back into holding, and we would sit there for hours, and then we had to come back outside. And so what that experience did for me, it really taught me that this acting thing is work. People look at the glitz and the glamour, and they look at the Oscars, and they look at, E! News, and they think it's all fun and to get dressed up and, doing the red carpet thing. And yeah, that's a part of it. But the work that you have to do before you get to that carpet, it's something serious. And the hours that you have to put in, you're putting into 10 to 16-hour days. Like you mentioned before, getting on set sometimes 4 or 5 in the morning, and then you're not leaving until almost the next day. And then a lot of it is, hurry up and wait. You're sitting and holding for a good amount of hours of the time that you are on set. So that's what it goes back to what we were saying earlier. You gotta love it. Because otherwise you won't have longevity and you won't last. So that experience really opened my eyes to how, what these people do, and that it really is a job. It's work. It's work.
That's what I think sometimes too is like, especially when I learned, like when I got my first book, when I booked my very first job, which I got booked by, it was fate how I booked, but then it was more or less you get over that. All right, I'm in a movie, and this is just work, and you have to work hard, and you have to. It's more or less tunnel vision. You have to do what you got to do. But hey, listen, you got to be on the show with Torres and Williams, man. And that was, to me, that was one awesome hand of those two guys, man. I mean, really, because they brought.
That was an amazing series. I mean, that series.
It was.
I mean, they play. They play the reruns now, and it's still good. It's just fantastic.
Absolutely.
The writing, the acting, the music, everything was just on point. I tuned in every week for it. So to be able to be on an episode was an honor. That was a lot of fun.
Cool. Now, besides acting, what hobbies do you enjoy the most? Besides when the cameras are off and when you're not auditioning or when you're not reading for just sides and that type of thing, what hobbies do you like doing?
Well, I like going to the movies. I know I'm a film girl. I just love that whole world. I'm always in it. And if I'm not, going to the movies, I'm probably home watching a movie. If I'm not home watching a movie, I'm probably reading. I'm probably reading something inspirational. I also, like to, practice yoga and kind of keep myself and my spirits relaxed, because a lot of times, especially when you're acting and you're playing these different characters, you got to have a way to release them from you once you're done with them. So, that's something that I do. And then just, being with my family and enjoying good music and traveling and food and, going to, different workshops and keeping my acting muscle strong when I'm not, working on a project. So, all of that. I do all of those things while I'm not working.
So you said you listen to music. So which artist gets the most repeat time on your iTouch these days?
Well, right now, really, really into Janae Aiko. Her music is just fantastic, and all you listeners out there, if you have not heard her album, go pick it up. When you want to just get into that chill mode, have a glass of wine, sit back and just, really vibe or get in tune with yourself, put on Janae Aiko. Her music is just fantastic. And, yeah, that's what I'm listening to right now. But, I flip between her and then I might put on Guy or I might put on Bob Marley or Biggie or Common or Jill Scott, so I'm kind of all over the place. I can appreciate a little bit of it all.
Hey, listen, Guy was awesome. I was into the groove me back in the day. Teddy and Teddy Riley,
yeah.
man. That's the talent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But here's what we're gonna do right now. We're gonna take a small break, and it's been an amazing experience. And we got a lot more in store for all of you. We'll be right back with more with Tanya Thompson here on the podcast, and I am still here with Tanya Thompson, and we had an amazing conversation at the beginning of this show, and we were covering the beginning of her, just mainly the beginning of everything, talking about where she grew up in, the Bronx, New York, and it just led on to booking her very first job, on New York Undercover. And it's been an amazing experience thus far, my very first episode. So for all of my live listeners that are listening right now, thank you very, very much. We have quite a few people that are listening on the actual phone end of the show. Not sure how many people are listening on the actual website. I'll get those numbers a little bit later. But I want to get right back into what we've all wanted to know, and that's about the movie The Decision. And Tanya's been promoting this, for quite some time now. And I caught wind of it, like I said, through social media, actually through her promoting it, and through social media, and others been talking about it. So I wanted to ask you, just jump right into this. So tell us what made you tell your story in this movie, The Decision.
What made me tell my story? Well, this situation, the film, number one, is about uterine fibroids. And what I noticed was that it was an epidemic in the African American and Latino community. And it was something that I had experienced a few years ago. And when I went through it, which, if there's any listeners out there that don't know, uterine fibroids is a benign tumor that is usually found in a female's uterus, and it causes a great deal of pain as well as excessive bleeding. And some people have even died from complications with it. And I went through a lot of hell. I don't know if I could say hell on the show, but I did. Yeah. I went through hell with it. And when I was going through it, I wondered, is anybody else going through this? I don't hear anybody talking about it. Am I the only one that suffers from this? So I did some research and I found out about 80% of African American women, will have or have had uterine fibroids in their life. And some people can't have children, and there's a whole lot of things that come with it. So, me being a filmmaker and being an actress, and thinking about, what was the next thing that I wanted to do, I thought about this story, and I was going through my diary that I kept while I was going through my fibroids issue, and I would, jot down day to day what I went through with the fibroids, basically documenting everything I was going through. And when I read it, I said, This sounds like a movie. So exactly. I decided to get a writer. His name's Musa Jackson, and reach out to him, and he interviewed me, he interviewed my husband about our experience and what we went through, and he put together a fantastic script loosely based on my experience, as well as experience that he'd gone through with his own family members as well. And I just felt the story was necessary to tell. You know, it's an epidemic in the African American community. No one else is talking about it. We might as well be advocates for our own health and put it out there to the media if no one else is doing it. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to turn my tragic situation into a triumphant situation that maybe can help somebody else. And that's how the decision was born.
That's well, first of all, it takes a great deal of bravery. Number one, to tell the story. Number one, in the form that you want to into a movie, and most importantly, you know, to endure that. You know, when you talk about, you know, and I actually did my homework on it, and I was reading about it, and I just cannot imagine, you know, the excruciating pain that you have to endure, you know, during that whole ordeal. So while you were being interviewed, you know, by the writer and everything, so how difficult was it to relive what you went through?
Yeah, well, that was more difficult than I actually thought. I mean, well, one thing I will say, my writer, Musa Jackson, he created an atmosphere that was very, very warm and comfortable, where, you know, we felt safe enough to tell the story. Because as I said, prior to me speaking to him, no one really knew I went through this but my family, you know, just my inner circle. So me coming out and speaking to him, who was not a relative of mine, you know, that had said a lot about him for me to even share that with him. And he created an atmosphere where I felt safe enough to do that. So he interviewed me, he interviewed my husband, both together and then separately, you know, because we both experienced this together, but we experienced it in different ways. You know, the way a man who supports his wife, you know, experience it is different than the wife actually going through it, and the different feelings that you have and stuff. So we did that, and you know, reliving it brought back a lot of, you know, memories, the trauma, the drama, but as well as the love that we shared that kept us together. And that's part of what we are showing in this film. It's also a love story. It's not just like a medical drama. It's a love story, and showing the support, you know, this particular woman had when she went through this in this film. So it's an incredible story, and I just can't wait for all you listeners out there to see it. I think it's going to not only educate, but I think it's also going to empower a lot of women who are currently going through it now, but they're suffering in silence.
Wow, that's, you know, when you talk about, you know, getting, and that was going to lead to my next question, actually, when you were talking about how he was interviewing, you know, he interviewed you two together, and then he interviewed, you know, you two separately. You know, I think as far as writing, I think that definitely helps too, because you can get both perspectives, both together and separately. And I think that, to me, I think that would make it a lot easier for him to really dissect the whole entire story and to really break it down and do it into a dialogue. Now, obviously, I know you have a great team that's involved in this project, and with you, now, granted, you're going to be in this film and that type of deal, but with the creative process, how was that process put? You know, as far as putting everything together, what were other things that were involved in that?
Well, I think the first thing was, you know, coming up with, you know, the concept and the idea. And then being willing to own that, and for this specific story, because it's so personal to me, just having the courage to psych myself up to say, okay, you know that you're going to go public with what you went through, you know, a lot of times in the entertainment industry, people don't want to, you know, a lot of actors and actresses don't want the public to know that they were sick. You know, being sick is like frowned upon in a way. You know,
Right.
oh, well, maybe we
Right.
won't give her a job because she can't work. She's sick. She's having this issue. So that took a lot of courage, number one, to do. Then number two, finding someone that I felt safe enough to share this with and to go on this journey with, because this is a journey. And then from there, you know, we found, you know, we have Musa Jackson who wrote it. And, you know, I just really give it to God. He just really has been placing the right people in my life that I need to really see this through. And it's really coming together just on a wing and a prayer, Derek. Seriously. Like, I pray every night, you know, for the Creator to guide this process, and he has been. And I encourage anybody out there that's trying to pursue any type of dream, throw your burden on the Creator, and he will see you through. Like, put it out there to the universe. Ask, and you shall receive. And that's all I've been doing. And people have been coming to me, offering help, offering services for like little and nothing, just because they believe in the project. You know, I had a lot of anonymous, you know, donors. I had a lot of people that never met me, never spoke to me a day in their life, but saw my story and wanted to support. They supported financially, or they supported with services offered. And like I said, that can only come from the Creator blessing us. So I give it to him.
Positive energy attracts positive energy.
Absolutely.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Sure does.
And I mean, again, you know, like I said, when I got wind of this, and I'll be the first to put it out there, I actually supported this film, and I actually donated myself, because I see
and I
somebody,
appreciate you for that.
Yeah, and I mean, because again, like I said at the beginning of the show, you know, we all support each other in everything, in every aspect of what we do. So, you know, when I first heard of this, it sounds like, wow, this is going to be something big, and
you feel it,
somehow,
right?
some way, yeah, it does. This is going to be something major, something. You know, I was like, you know what, I definitely want to help a friend out. Now, you're I'm going to say this very proudly. You are the co-director and producer, and you're starring in this film. Now, what are the pros and cons in juggling all those responsibilities?
Woo! Just you saying that made me feel a bit overwhelmed. I'm like, I'm doing all that? No, but what are the pros and cons? I just say pros and pros. You know, because you gotta take the good with the bad, and even the bad is good. Right. You know, because the bad is good, and I say that because it's all part of the process and part of the journey. So, exactly. You know, it takes a lot of multitasking. You know, it takes a lot of organizational skills, a lot of leadership skills, and it's a lot of work. You know, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of belief in yourself that you can do it. And, you know, because, you know, co-directing, you know, that's one job, in trying to help with the vision of the film, the look of the film. You know, you're putting together the crew and the technical aspect of the film. But then, you know, producing, you got to find the money. You gotta take care of the social media aspect. You got to schmooze with people and shake hands with babies. And then, you know, starring in the film, I have to study. I have to work with my acting coach. I have to bring it, because I'm the lead actress of the film, and it's all going to be relying on this performance. So I did take on a big, big responsibility, but I believe in myself. I know that I have the talent. I've been trained. I can do this. I am going to do this. And it's, you know, it takes confidence. It takes a lot of confidence. I do have a lot of experience, years of experience in the business, so I feel like I was ready to be able to wear these hats. And I do have help. You know, my team is growing by the numbers, by the day. But you know, I am spearheading it, and but you can't do it by yourself. There's no I in team. So I give it to my team. I have a strong team, and they're allowing me to be able to juggle all of this in an efficient way.
Okay. Now, I guess, like I said, me doing this radio show and everything, like, I'm starting to see that there's a lot of things I have to do creatively to present this in the form that I want to do it. Just like you're talking about in regards to you being the co-directing producer, like all those for me, because I'm also interviewing as well. And I guess even in acting, you have to perform. So I guess I'm not saying you have to choose, but I guess, do you enjoy both, or do you like the directing, creative end, or do you love performing?
Well, I'm an actor first. Acting is my first love, and that's what I do. I love to act, and I am slowly growing to love the behind the scenes aspect of it. Again, I'm not the director of the film. I'm co-directing, and when I'm on set, I'm the lead actress. And so, at some point I will take off that hat with the co-directing for that moment. But acting will always be my first love, because I'm a performer first. That's what I've been doing since I was 5 years old. So, and that's what I'm gonna do till the day I die. I'll be acting all the way into my grave. Hopefully no time soon. But
no.
But yeah. So I would say acting.
Definitely. I mean, think of it this way. I mean, Ben Affleck, prime example. Look at him.
Mm-hmm.
He's directing.
Yeah.
And he's also acting in films. And
exactly.
One director
doing a fantastic job at both.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if there's, for anybody that's listening out there, do both. You have a guy that just won an Academy Award for Best Film. He was director of a film last year, and you have Tanya Thompson on the line right now. So if it's anybody you want to, absolutely. If there's anybody you want to emulate yourself after in chasing the dream and maybe having dual, multitasking with different jobs, these are your resources right here. Now, I know you had a campaign recently to raise money for the film. Now, number one, is there still time for people to donate? And if so, where can they go to donate to this project?
Yes, we are actually still accepting donations right now through PayPal.com. And if you go onto PayPal, it's a really, really simple process. You basically put in your email address. You put in our email address, which is decisionmovie@gmail.com. That's decisionmovie@gmail.com. And you just put in the amount you want to donate. You hit send. And that's it. Oh, and you got to put your credit card information in. But yeah, so through PayPal.com, you can still donate to the film. We are definitely still accepting donations because, as you know, film has different stages. So you have your pre-production stage, where you're getting everything together, you're hiring your crew, you got to lock in your locations and you got to pay your cast. And then you have your production stage where, okay, it's showtime. Now we actually have to be on set and we actually have to do this. We have to feed the cast. We have to, pay people. And then you have your post-production where now the movie's done, but now you have to edit and you have to do sound design and you got to do color correction and you got to do all that technical stuff to make the movie pretty so that we can now present it on the big screen. So those are the three phases that you go through when creating a film, and all of that takes money. So we are definitely collecting donations still through PayPal.com. So just put in decisionmovie@gmail.com, and we would love any donation. $5, $10, $1, $20, whatever you can give from your heart. Greatly appreciate it.
See, guys, all those things you just mentioned, it's never ending. When we talk about just going back into the writing process, and we're going all the way to post-production and all those things in between. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like eating a sandwich, man. It's like there's a big
pretty much.
Get the bread, and you got to get the mayo, the mayonnaise, whichever condiments you like. Then you got to get the meat, and the cheese, and you got to get the lettuce.
Well, not if you're vegan. Not if you're vegan. Then you just put you can put other stuff.
Right, I'm a vegetarian actually, so I was just looking up for my meat.
Me too.
I didn't know
that.
Meat.
So am I.
Yes, I've been a vegetarian since September 19th. Actually, I made the decision to be a vegetarian, and it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made. So people thought I was absolutely. It's amazing. People thought I was absolutely nuts until, obviously, because I work out in the gym quite a bit, until they started seeing results and like, oh wow, and I juice a lot. Obviously I with my fruits and vegetables and that type of deal. So trust me, I'm an advocate for vegetarians, but at the same time, that's why I gave that example of the sandwich for meat lovers that are out there. Now,
yes.
Now I know you got to get out of here soon.
Yeah.
Now where can people find you on social media? Where can they actually find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. Just search for Tanya Thompson, and I will pop up. I'm also on Instagram, Tanya Thompson 11, and my name is spelled Tanya Thompson, Thompson. So that's Tanya Thompson on Facebook, Tanya Thompson, and the number 11 on Instagram, and Tanya_Thompson on Twitter. Or you can just go to Google, put in Tanya Thompson, and all of my social media stuff will pop up. I'm Googleable. So yeah, so you can definitely find me online anywhere, and follow my journey, follow my film, the decision. Stay tuned for updates on what's going on with that project, as well as, other things I have coming up in my acting career. And, yeah, that's where I'll be on social media.
Well, like I said, there will never, ever be a first. There will never be a first.
Oh, my gosh. I feel so honored. Thank you
really,
so much.
Seriously, this is probably one of the most amazing things that's ever happened in my life. And I'm no joke. This is, this show, it took me 5 weeks to prepare for everything, and for this to come to fruition and to be able to have you on as my very first guest, again, I'm honored that you were able to take the leap of faith and give this show a shot, and displaying what you're doing, and telling the people out there that may not have known what was going on. Now they know. This will be in the archives for people to listen on, and I'll explain all those sources later on, iTunes, obviously, and all that stuff. Tanya, it's been an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. I would love to have you back on in the future. And hey, who knows? This can definitely be at the Sundance Film Festival. You know what I mean? This could be.
Oh yeah, we're going all the way, and I will definitely keep you informed. And thank you so much for having enough belief in me and my project to have me as your first guest. I mean, what an honor! I will never ever forget this experience. It was so much fun, and I really enjoyed myself. And I just want to say to any listeners out there, especially my females who may be suffering with uterine fibroids, Tanya Thompson is going to tell your story, and we're going to find a cure for this. And that's what we're going to do with this film. So I'm right here for you guys. And thank you again, Derek. I really, really, really appreciate you. I really do.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tanya Thompson. And again, as she's leaving on now. Again, this is truly amazing. This is amazing for her to come on to the show to tell her story, to tell what was going on in her life. Just mainly go from the beginning all the way to the now. You know what I'm saying? And this will never, again, like I said, this will never be another first ever again. She was my very first guest, and she knocked it out of the park. We'll be right back with more of the DLU podcast. Don't go anywhere.